Okay, sorry for the delay. In this lecture, we are finally going to learn about Newton's law. Yay. So, Newton's idea is that the force between different things is the cause of everything. If I want to move this chair, I need to apply a force to pull it, or I need to apply a force to push it. The reason I can move this chair is because I apply a force on it. The reason that if you have a baseball flying toward you, and then you can hit it to make it fly high away, the reason that the ball will fly away is because when you hit it, you apply a force on it, so that's why the ball will fly away. If you have a paper airplane, that's so bad. Oh my god. That's so bad. Oh my god. Today is not a good day to force paper airplane. Give me one more try. Alright, let's stop trying. So the reason this paper airplane can kind of stay in the air longer than usual projectile is because there's air applying force on the wing so that it can stay in the air for a little bit longer. Now, before we discuss what exactly will a force do, let's figure out what will happen if there's no force applying on a particle. So people used to think that if there's no force acting on something, things will just stop and come to rest by itself. If I just throw a random thing in this room, it stops. And no matter what you do, it seems like there's no such thing as perpetual moving objects. So people used to think that without force, the final ending of anything is just that they will come to rest. But that is not true. And it is hard to prove that it's not true because you cannot build an infinite track and show that, yes, this thing will keep on going forever, because you cannot show something to go forever because there's never enough space to show something to go forever. So Galileo, a guy that was how old? Galileo. He was born in the 16th century, which is pretty far away from now. So you know this is an old knowledge, but it might be the first time you see it. Galileo is a ancient people. He designed this experiment. He used two ramps and tried to show that if you start from the height, you will end up at the same height. Let's try to mark that. I have my ruler. I'm being very accurate now. Let's say we start from let's say we want to start from here. I have the tape on it, so you can see where exactly I am measuring. I can measure the height of this point. To do that accurately, I need to pull a string, because under gravity it will be for sure vertical. So I know I need to do this point and that point, and then I get a ruler to measure the height. It is 18 inch. So I go to the other side, again, do the same trick, to make sure my ruler is vertical to the ground, and try to see where is it going to have 18 inch. About there, okay? So this point on this track, and that point on this track have the same height, okay? Let me do the same thing for another track, 18 inch, 18 inch, 18 inch. So as you can see, I'm not an experimentalist. They will tell me you need to make sure this table itself is level in order to make all this accurate. I did not check that. So just be fooled by me and trust that this is accurate enough to make sure this 2 point is at the same height. Okay, so all these 4 points marked by the tape are in the same height. And let's see if I release a ball from here, which height it will reach. The exact same height. If I keep it rolling, it will stop eventually, just like every other object. But Galileo proposed that things will stop because there's air around on the surface of Earth. When there's friction, when you rock stuff, you can hear this sound because of friction. If there's no friction, this track will make no sound. One way to show that is if you look at the moon, which has been recorded for like longer than human history, longer than civilization. It has been out there all this time, and it has been moving without stopping. It seems like if you go to outer space, things won't stop moving. So, to show that, we focus on the first time it reaches the other side. Because for the first time, friction only has a small amount of time to affect it. If I keep it going longer, the friction will be affecting it, and that's why it makes it slow down. But if I focus on the first time it reaches the other side, the effect of friction should be reduced to the minimum possible. And you can see that it reaches the same height. Now, if I change the shape of this track and make it go down with a lower angle, this is about the place which the ball travels the same distance, but this is the point that the ball reaches the same height. Let's look at where the ball will reach. It doesn't reach quite the same height. Oh. Well, I guess either this table is not level, or this track is too long for us to completely get the effect of friction. But it seems like the decrease of height is way more shorter than the increase of length. Therefore, if you are able to remove all the friction on the track, you know it might reach, or it must reach the same height. There's no way that this height difference is caused by something other than friction, because friction give you so much longer distance to act on the ball. You give so much longer distance to friction to act on the ball. But the height change at the end is not comparable to that distance. You double the distance, but the final height does not decrease by half. So you can argue that if there's no friction, this ball should reach the exact same height. Any question with that argument? So how do we connect that argument to an object without force? When the object is on a tilted track, there's obviously force on it because it starts moving and the way it moves is changing. But if you make the track become flat, then when the thing is rolling on a flat track, there will be no force. We show that if the track is not flat, the ball will roll to the other side and reach the same height. If you lower the track a little bit more, it will still reach the same height. So, if there's no friction, there's no air resistance, and you make the track flat, this ball will still reach the same height, but that will never happen, and the ball will move forever. This is Galileo's argument about how things should move when there's no force acting on it. Because for some reason, the ball will always reach the same height. Don't worry about the reason right now, just take it as a fact. But if this is true, that object without force should move forever because it will never reach the same height. Any question? Good. So